So during this information session for parents, I'm going to show you what the next steps should be in your teen's college admissions journey. Now, I'm going to show you how you can confidently take those steps without feeling overwhelmed or uncertainty about what your teen should be doing to get into their dream college and secure scholarships to pay for it. But before we get started, a few things. Number one, I want you to stay focused so that you walk away feeling like your time with me is well spent. So this is a good time to turn off your cell phones, shut down all windows on your computer, and close your door. And number two, before getting started, I want to make sure you're in the right place by telling you who this program is not for. So you are not in the right place if you have a teen who does not want to do the work. And your teen prefers not to work with tutors, mentors, coaches, or advisors. So you have a teen who prefers to work on their own. You're not in the right place if you're not open to discovering schools that are a good fit academically, personally, socially, and financially. And finally, you are not in the right place if you're a parent who does not want to be involved in this process. And let me explain what I mean in terms of your involvement. So I like to use this example of a car, and I tell students they're the driver of the car or the driver of this process. They're behind the wheel, their hands are on the steering wheel, their foot is on the gas. Now I'm the GPS. I'm in the car with them. I'm in the process coaching them through what to do. And like a GPS, your car's navigation system, I'm going to tell them what to do and when to do it. So, I may say, hey, detour ahead or take exit 7 on the right. I'm going to tell them exactly what they need to do and when they need to do it. Now, also inside of the car, it's you, the parent. You're enjoying the ride, looking out the window, you're taking it all in, but you are in the process as well. You don't have to worry about driving the process. You don't have to worry about knowing the next steps. That's my job. That's my role because I'm here to support your family. So now that we got those out of the way, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I am Pam Andrews, and I'm a college admissions consultant. I help high school students get into their dream college, but what makes me different is I really focus on the money. I'm an author of several books on college admissions and scholarships, and I'm the host of the Scholarship Shark podcast. I present at conferences, for schools, for churches and organizations. But of all the things that I do, my favorite role is honestly just being a mom. And I share this with you because I want you to know that I am right there where you are. I have a college graduate, I have a college student, a high school student, and an elementary school student. So I know exactly what it's like to work with teens, not only from a professional level, but on a personal level to help them achieve their goals. I know what it feels like as a mom to go through those emotional highs and lows and to really move a student along this process. So my oldest son, who is on my left in this picture, worked the process as I told you about, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about it during our time together. And as a result, he won over $700,000 in scholarships. This was a combination of a strategy I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes, one of my main techniques. But because of that, and because of the amount of money that he won, and this was by applying for good fit schools, so he applied for 8 colleges. He got accepted into all 8 and won very generous merit scholarships at all of those schools. And he won 6 additional private scholarships, which covered the tuition gap. So as a result of this 2-layered approach that I've come up with, I've been featured. He won, and I've been featured in several publications and podcasts where I talk about college admissions and scholarships and how this can work for your family. So now that all of that's out of the way, your phone is off, your windows are closed, you know a little bit more about me, I want you to imagine. So can you imagine if your teen knew exactly which career and majors fit their aptitudes, interests, and personality, and your teen knew exactly which colleges are a great fit, where your student will thrive and ultimately graduate in 4 years or less? And imagine that college applications were completed and essays written in a way that highlights your teen's personality and accomplishments. And best of all, imagine that you, parent, you have a very clear understanding of how much merit aid and need-based aid you could expect from the colleges on your teen's list long before they apply. Now that you've imagined this happening, let me tell you what it's like to get into your dream college. So a dream college is a school that's a good academic fit, social fit, personal fit, and financial fit. It's a school where your student will not only survive, but thrive and graduate in 4 years. So let's take a look at each of the 4 fit factors. An academic fit is a school that has a program or major that will lead to your career goals. And it's also the likelihood of being admitted to a school based on your high school academic performance. So when I work with students, we back into academic fit. We start with who the student is by conducting several assessments, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, the assessments. And then from assessments, we back into career, a good career fit, and from career, we back into major, and in major, we back into a good school that's a good fit. The next fit factor is social fit. And when it comes to social fit, research shows that students who feel connected, who feel engaged, and happy on campus will graduate from that college where they are enrolled. Even if the school is a good academic, personal, and financial fit, if it's not a good social fit, students tend to transfer. And when a student transfers, they're losing time, possibly credits, and that means they can incur extra cost. Now, when it comes to personal fit, this is the factor that's important to you and your family. So maybe it's important to you that your student only travels a certain distance from home, or maybe it's important to you that your student attends a school in an area where a family member lives. Whatever the reason, personal factors vary from person to person, household to household, and even from student to student within a household. And then finally, financial fit. Now, a financial fit is a school where the student is admitted that they would be able to attend because they could financially afford it. And we get to that number several of ways. Financial fit is determined by 4 different variables. One is the cost. And a lot of times families just focus on the cost of the school. You can't just focus on that sticker price. So number 1 is the cost. Then another one is the aid that's given. So the amount of need-based aid and merit aid. Then number 3 would be strategies to reduce the cost of attendance. And then number 4, the outcomes that the school produces. So the first 2 that I mentioned, the cost and financial aid, those are often the only 2 aspects that families consider. But this conversation is so much bigger than that. Families really must have strategies to reduce the cost, as well as considering the outcomes of that particular school and ways to increase the aid that their student can earn. Because having this balance between academic, social, and personal fit and financial fit is really important, because a dream college can quickly become a nightmare if it's one that is not a good financial fit. And here's one thing I really want you to understand, that getting into your dream college means that you are no longer approaching college planning in a way that does not support who your student is without considering the net price of the school. Instead, you're going to approach this process in a way that equips your teen to target their college search to schools that will maximize their chances of getting money while being a good academic, social, and personal fit. Now, as promised, I'm going to walk you through 3 steps to getting into your dream college and securing scholarships to pay for it. So, step number 1, you need a strategy. And this is a 2-tiered approach. Your strategy must include a smart college list and private scholarships. You need them both. I call this the layering technique. So layer 1 is getting the most institutional aid. So building your college list that is a good academic, personal, and social fit, as well as a financial fit, one that's going to be generous for your student's profile. And so that's getting the most money at the school level. And then layer 2 is private money. That's money from outside private sponsors, private organizations, and that money goes with you no matter which school that you choose to attend. And here's why this is important to have this two-tiered approach, because finding the right college is a lot like purchasing airfare. Now, did you know that when you purchase airfare, you probably did not pay the same price as the person sitting next to you? Well, paying for college is often compared to paying for an airline ticket because no two students pay the exact same price. So how much you pay for college depends on many factors, and knowing those factors and having a strategy makes all the difference in you paying less than the student sitting next to you in class. So let me share one of my students with you. This is Autumn, and Autumn applied my two-tier approach perfectly. And as a result, she built a list of schools that were a great academic fit, social fit, personal fit, as well as financial fit. And then early in her senior year, from the fall and very early winter, she applied for financial aid and scholarships to cover the gap. And she was able to graduate without having to incur student loan debt. So let's move on to step 2. Step 2 is having a proven system, and that is the best way to get into college and secure scholarships. Now, I want to talk to you about how I support students along this journey, and this is my system. This is my framework. It's the Scholarship Shark process model. So my undergraduate degree is in electrical engineering. I am a step-by-step process person. I am a STEM girl to my heart. And I created this framework as a way to visually show you what it's like to work with me and how I make it all work. So I specifically chose an iceberg because of the way it's shaped. And there's a lot happening above and below the surface. So let's take a look at under the surface first. What's under the surface is what we don't see, but just because we don't see it does not mean it's not important, and it doesn't mean that it does not have significant impact. A lot of times, families focus on what they can see because it's above the surface and it's really in your horizon. So the first part of my process model is mindset. And we start off really talking about our thinking. How do we handle success? How do we handle failures and disappointments and setbacks? What's our relationship to money? And do you actually believe that you can win? I tell students that those 6 inches between their ears is critical, and it's so important to develop a growth mindset. And, this is something that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. It's not like, okay, I've overcome this hurdle and I'm done. No, developing an understanding mindset is a skill that your student will take with them through their entire life. Now, the next part of our process of our framework is process. And this is really our roadmap. And I'll show you that in just a moment. And this really lays out in detail every step of the way. Now, the last 2 pieces above the surface are skills and tools. And I want to tell you a couple of things about skills. Number 1, skills are transferable. So I teach your students what I know. I walk them through how I figure things out and how I do what I do. How do I come to this conclusion? And the really nice thing about skills is that you're not just applying these skills to getting into college and applying for scholarships. The skills that your students acquire will go beyond this process. It will be what they use to apply for internships, for summer abroad opportunities, for on-campus positions, because really creating your profile and building your activities that align with your interests, your passions, your pursuits in college as a student, the same thing that you do to get in school, those are the same things that you're going to do to stand out as a student leader, as you're building your student profile. And this will also help you in the employment opportunities, or help your student in those future employment opportunities. Now, another thing I want to say about skills too, is that I find that families recognize that it's so much more than just applying for scholarships in college, because again, these are critical life skills that they carry with them beyond college. So not just are these skills that they can acquire and learn and grow and develop, but these are also life skills. And let me give you a really good example. In a few moments, I'm going to talk to you about our community, and our community meets on LinkedIn. And I was very intentional about meeting on LinkedIn because I want students to get comfortable connecting and growing and thinking next steps. And so acquiring that skill and knowing how to really work LinkedIn and how to leverage LinkedIn to make valuable connections is a really critical skill. And honestly, I know some college students who don't know how to do this. And so your student doing this early in high school makes all the difference, and it helps that transition once they move on to college. And the final part of our process is the tools. And that's the templates, the calculators, that's all the tech that makes this work. So let me share with you another student who worked the process. And this is Quan. He's a recent graduate, but again, he applied the strategy with layer 1 and layer 2. So building the right college list. He graduated from University of Michigan with a degree in engineering, but then he also layered on the activities and worked the process, applying for and winning several private scholarships. And he also was able to graduate from college completely debt-free. So now I'm on to my third and final step, and that is structure. Now, structure is the process part of our framework. It's our roadmaps. So students do really well when they follow our process because they have a step-by-step process to follow. So whether students start in the 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade, they are following a very prescribed path that leads them to their goals. So again, those 3 steps are having a strategy, implementing a system, and following a structure. But because these are really unusual times, I have to give you a bonus step, and that's step 4. Now, step 4 lies in knowing what to do and when to do it, because when you know how to apply the process during normal times, it makes it that much easier to do the what during these unusual times. So because of our very detailed framework, we're able to take that exact process and lay it in this COVID-19 era. And I'll explain exactly what I mean. So what a student does is one thing, and how a student does it or how it's delivered is different. So the what has not changed. Students still need to demonstrate interest in a school. Students still need to demonstrate their credentials, and scholarship and college application deadlines are the same. Now let me explain each of these and why this is really important. So when we say demonstrate interest, it's really important that students begin to engage with the school and let a school know that they're interested in applying for their school. And one way that this typically happens is with campus visits. But as many of you may know, many colleges, actually pretty much all the college campuses, closed this past spring because of coronavirus. So this left students in the awkward position of not being able to visit schools. So how do they demonstrate interest? Then we also have demonstrating their credentials. Well, we had the same thing happen with SAT and ACT tests being canceled in the spring and summer. And so students were only left with maybe GPA to show their rigor of their course load and maybe AP exams. And some schools, because they were administered at home, some are considering them and some are not. So again, this has to be done. Credentials need to be considered, and interest needs to be considered. But how do we do this? And again, scholarship and college application deadlines are remaining the same. So using our framework, With college visits canceled, AP exams taken at home, spring and summer SAT and ACT dates canceled, and some colleges going test optional, it's really important, again, to have strategy and work through a very consistent framework so that students understand what to do during this COVID-19 era. And again, this is where our process model really comes in handy, because students know, even with all the school disruptions, our process helps them to understand exactly what to do, and this remains consistent with our steps. And the other thing that I want your student to know too is that by working through it, they're able to move through it with confidence during this unprecedented time. So let me ask you a question. What would it look like for your family if your teen approached their college admissions process this way? If they implemented a strategy, they worked through a system, and they had structure. So let me introduce you to College Admissions Academy. College Admissions Academy is the only program of its kind. It is my complete step-by-step group coaching program for getting into college and securing scholarships that pay for it. It is designed to take your student by the hand, no missing steps and no confusion, and it is the quickest way and most effective way to get from point A to point B. So at this point, the way I see it is that you have two options. Number one, you could keep moving forward without a roadmap or without a plan, or number two, you 100% commit to developing a strategy, creating a system, and implementing a structure that supports your student, adapts to the current COVID-19 climate, and keeps you from having to figure it all out. So let me tell you what you get inside of College Admissions Academy. There are three main pieces to our core program. They are the curriculum, coaching, and community. Let me walk you through the curriculum and coaching really quickly. I've created a detailed path to guide students through this often complex college planning process, and our college planning curriculum creates a framework for the coaching portion that we do as we work together. So inside of our program, there are video lessons, on-demand content, as well as live coaching sessions to work your student through the process. This includes roadmaps, tech tools, checklists, calculators, and templates. This also includes editing your students' college admissions essays. That's all of the personal statement essays and supplemental essays, as well as every scholarship essay. And your students have access to a scholarship database. I license a scholarship database just for the students who are enrolled in College Admissions Academy. So when you first get started with us, whether it's in the 10th grade, the 11th grade, or the summer before your senior year, the on-ramp for all students is exactly the same. And we start with two things. Number one, assessments, and number two, creating your impact project. Now, we know that searching for the right college begins with exploring oneself rather than a list of colleges. So we start off by assessing students through a strength-based profile. And once a student is clear on their strengths, we help them focus on using those strengths to create their impact project. The assessment that I use helps your teen to understand their learning style, personality, interests, and careers that match who they are. Now, the impact project is a self-directed project based on who your student is, their academic interests and pursuits, and their personalities, and it helps them to either solve a problem or it aligns with their passion. And this helps students really explore their academic interests a little bit further to confirm or validate what they believe about what it is that they're interested in doing. And a bonus is this really helps your students stand out in the college admissions and scholarship process. So now, as we move more into the senior year, we get into a more detailed part of college planning. And I want you to think of this in three ways. And we're going to look at the college application timeline. There are three main pieces. It's preparation, submission, and notification. So starting this summer, before the senior year starts in the fall, we really dive into really wrapping up the preparation and building that strong college list. This also includes standardized tests where your students will do a diagnostics test to provide a baseline for both the SAT and the ACT, help them determine which test is better for them. They will have test prep materials as well as a strong test prep strategy. We also work through helping your student understand the power of choice because they will learn to now narrow down their college choice to a manageable list based on the 4 fit factors. And because many families are overwhelmed with the thought of financing college education, we also include modules and video lessons to help students understand cost and to help them explore options to minimize student debt. As we move into the application submission phase in the senior year, what our core program does is spend time helping students find scholarships, apply for scholarships, they're writing their essays, and they're really managing the entire college application process, such as writing their all their essays, seeking the right recommendations, and learning how to keep their transcripts strong so that they finish strong. So by the end of our time together, what students will have done, they will clearly know their career cluster based on assessments to assist with career planning and choosing a major. They create a mini impact project that provides a standout factor. They create a college application strategy to increase acceptance opportunities to the best suited schools with a focus on college affordability. They research and explore great college matches tailored to their academic interests. Your family will have a financial positioning strategy to further explore colleges. This is really important because it includes understanding your EFC, which is your family's expected family contribution, and all the numbers. So this is the part, parent, where you really get involved with understanding the financial piece, and I walk you through that early in the process. Your student will also write standout essays targeted for their top tier or their top college choices. That includes your personal statements and all supplemental essays. They will complete their college admissions applications well ahead of the deadlines. And finally, they're going to create a system for identifying and applying for merit-based scholarships. I talked about our curriculum and our coaching. Now I want to tell you just a little bit more about our community. So our community is on LinkedIn, and that's where I use the group. And I'm very intentional about that. I don't use a Facebook group because number one, teens really aren't on Facebook. And number two, I don't use an outside platform or forum. I use LinkedIn again, and this goes back to skill in the process model, because I want students to get comfortable with engaging with their schools, engaging with employers, and beginning to network and make connections. And so there are several activities that we walk through to really help them understand how to demonstrate interest to a school using this very professional platform. So now that I've talked to you about College Admissions Academy, about the curriculum, the coaching, and our community, I want to tell you about a few special bonuses. So bonus number one includes both the SAT and ACT diagnostics testing, as well as a customized test prep strategy for either the SAT or ACT, or maybe even both for your students. It includes both SAT and ACT test prep materials for your student to help them really master and do well on the SAT. Now, I want to go back to something I talked about a little bit earlier when I talked about step 4 and college planning in this post-COVID era. So of course, the tests were canceled in the spring, the entrance exams, but what the College Board and the ACT organization have both decided to do is to offer mini test dates in the fall. So there are 5 back-to-back test dates for the SAT, and there will be back-to-back dates released very soon, the end of July, for the ACT. This is really important because A lot of schools have gone test optional, and it's really important for families to understand that test optional is not test blind. So before I explain that, let me explain these 5 dates. So students will have the opportunity to sit for the test in August, September, October, November, and December. And it's really important that students really have a strong strategy with a program that really works to help them either increase their test if they've taken it in the past, they were able to get 1 or 2 in, or to really do well right out the gate. So let me explain test optional and test blind. So many schools have announced that they are test optional. What that does not mean is that they're not going to consider test scores. If a student thinks a test score accurately reflects who they are, then they should submit that test. And actually, some students will be submitting a test. When a school is test blind, they don't consider the test score. If you submit it, they're not looking at it at all. This is why during these last few months of the summer, it's really important for your student to go ahead and plan to take the test and to do intense test prep work and to have a strategy, because this will give them the opportunity where many students are thinking, oh, well, I don't need to submit it. This school is test optional. This gives your student that competitive advantage to use their test scores. So again, there are 5 back-to-back test dates for the SAT, and the ACT will announce their test dates at the very end of July. So let me tell you about bonus number 2. Now, bonus number 2 is our college planning portal, and this is where we keep everything organized. It includes a student dashboard where they're able to look at colleges. It has the college's most recent admissions data, so your student can see how do they compare. What are my chances of getting in? It includes notifications and communications back and forth between parents, students, and myself. It's a great way to organize all your tests, and it's how we do all the editing for the essays. This is where everything happens in our college planning portal. The total value of these 2 bonuses, the $1,200 on the test prep and the $997 on the college planning portal, the total value of our 2 bonuses is $2,197. But I want you to know that I'm not extra special, and neither are any of my students. What I have is a proven roadmap that I follow every single time when I help students get into their dream college and secure scholarships to pay for it. And I want to introduce you to bonus number 3. So bonus number 3 is Parent University, and this is for you. It includes our private Facebook parent group, Parent University online curriculum that's 24/7 available for you, the parent, giving you exactly what you need, when you need it, as well as text alerts. And that value is $497. So this brings our total value of our bonuses to $2,694. Let me show you what's inside of Parent University. Again, there's 24/7 on-demand access to information for parents. There's our private parent Facebook group, and parents, I send text notifications and alerts with important deadlines, upcoming dates, and meetings for your students so that you know exactly what's going on and you don't miss anything. And then I have another bonus, and this is my final bonus, bonus number 4. Now, this is the Scholarship Shark Activity Journal. And this is what I use to help students really organize all their activities, their extracurriculars, work experience, so that when we're applying for scholarships in the fall, everything they need is right at their fingertips. And here's a secret. It's aligned to all of the big money scholarships. So when students work through this, they're able to quickly see gaps that they may need to fill a little bit sooner before the fall opens up with these big scholarships, so that they have time the rest of this summer to do some things. Or it helps them to really organize their thoughts, ideas, so that while school is happening, college planning is happening, applying for scholarships also happens, because here's what I find often happens. Sometimes families, and these are families who don't work with me, they apply for schools. They run off and they apply and their student gets into school. And then in the spring, they're trying to figure out, so how do I pay for it? And here's the reality. Again, number one, your student is going to be awarded the most money at the institutional level. So they're going to be awarded the most money by the college or the university. And number two, your students should be applying for private scholarships all throughout the school year, not just in the spring once they've been accepted, but they start right away once we get started in July applying for scholarships. So you can see with my complete program and all of the bonuses alone have a value of $2,791. But you're probably thinking right about now, okay, Pam, give us this price. So I know I could easily charge over $5,000 a year for students to work with me in this program. And the truth is, it's just that good. And the results that your students can create for themselves are big. However, I know my community well. And although I know you're very serious about getting into my program and helping your students find their dream school and secure scholarships to pay for it, I know this price point would be tough for you. And so what I did, I cut the cost, but not the value. I want this program to be affordable for you. And that's why I decided to price it much less than I likely should. So if you're ready to get started, I've got some options to make this incredibly easy for you. I have a payment plan. So you could pay in full and save, or you can take advantage of one of two payment options. Payment plan option number one, you pay $2,000 up front and then 8 monthly payments of $250 a month. And payment plan option number two, you pay $208 and then 8 monthly payments of $499. So I have one final question for you. Would you like me to work with your teen to help them get into their dream school and secure scholarships to pay for it? If yes, then the next step is to schedule a time for me to meet with your student. And you can do that by going to www.thescholarshipshark.com/meet. So no worries about trying to type that down or type it right now, because I do want to get to some questions and frequently asked questions. I will email you this link. You'll have this in your email as soon as this video is over. Now, I do require a face-to-face meeting with students before working together, because I want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. Typically, parents see this program and they're excited and they're ready to get going, but it's really important for me to make sure that the student understands how I'm there to support them, because once we get started, we hit the ground running. So it's a simple process, about a 20-minute call with your student. And again, this link will be emailed to you at the end of this video presentation, so that if you're interested in taking that next step, I can go ahead and meet with your student. So before closing, let me answer just a few commonly asked questions. So the first question I often get asked is, what's next? Well, the next step would be to schedule that meeting with your student. And then if we decide that we are a good fit for your student and it's going to work, then we send you the payment page. We don't post it on our website. We don't make it public anywhere, because we want to meet with your student first before offering payment. Without that step, we don't work together. So after that, you make payment and then we get started right away. How long is each class? And I'm typically asked this because I know students are busy. And we keep the classes short. Now remember, there's on-demand video content, and then we're showing up live, coaching and going through the process. And this makes it very efficient and easy for your student to keep moving at their pace along our roadmap. So each class is anywhere between about 30 to 45 minutes long. Can I join my kids in the live sessions? Well, of course you can. Sometimes parents want to hop in and see what their students are learning and talking about and where we are in the process. One thing that I do, and every session is recorded because sometimes students have activities that would run a little bit after school, or maybe they want to go back through the material and review it, either on their own or with their parent. So we upload every live recording in our membership site in the portal so that both you and the student can watch it at any time together or on your own. And I encourage you to watch it because it lets you know exactly what we're doing. Now, number 4, why do you close the cart? Well, we're closing the cart. We only stay open for 2 weeks, and we do this because once we get momentum, we don't stop. So we open it up just a few times during the school year for students. So we already opened it up a little earlier this year and currently working with a cohort of students. And this will be the last time that we open our doors for this year because we only have a few months remaining before the school starts in the fall. So once we close this cart in a couple of weeks, that's it. When can I get started? Well, after you make payment, your student gets started right away. And there are 2 things that happen. They're immediately given access to the membership site and they can join our live session right away. And then I schedule a one-on-one new student orientation with myself, the student, and the parent, where we get set up with the tech tools, all the technology that you will use, and I answer any questions that you may have. Number 6, how do you meet with students? Well, we meet on Zoom, and we've always met on Zoom, and this goes back to that part where I said skills, life skills. Our students have always met on Zoom. I have students all throughout the U.S., and we meet on Zoom. And one of the benefits I discovered with my students, because they've worked with me on Zoom for quite a while, is that when schools transitioned to online learning because of COVID-19, when many schools had to close, it was a seamless transition for my students because they were already used to Zoom as a platform. They knew how to chat. They knew how to share their screen. They knew how to go into a breakout room. So again, we had no idea when we did this, it just made sense to use this kind of that web-based platform. But again, I think it speaks to the value and the skills that your students acquire in working in this program and working with me. How often do you meet with students? So typically in the summer, we meet very often, about either once a week or alternate weeks as we're working on our essays and building our school list. So it's a lot of work up front, but summer is the best time to get it done because here's the reality. Their peers are going to be waiting until the fall to get started. And that is not the time to start, especially now with everything that's going on. So we're taking advantage of having a little bit quieter summer. Many summer programs are canceled. Students may be working either remotely or not as many hours. So it's a little bit different now because many things have been canceled or gone virtually or gone online. And so we always take advantage of summer to get things done. It gets a little intense where we're meeting probably weekly, August, September, October, November, and that's so we don't miss any of those critical college applications and scholarship deadlines. And then we take a few weeks break in December, and January we're back on top of everything and we're meeting about every other week. We meet, and I'll jump to number 9. When does the program end? The program ends in June. Number 7, how often do you meet with students? So, that I just answered that. And number 8, do you offer a sibling discount? I do. So many of my families are returning families. I've worked with one of their children and they work with me again. And so several years ago, I started the sibling discount to help families who have, multiple students, either twins or students back to back or a few years apart. So we do offer discounts in our program. So again, I want to invite you to join me inside of College Admissions Academy. The base price, if you pay in full and save, is $3,900, or you could do one of the other payment plans. This includes our core coaching, community, and curriculum, as well as all 4 bonuses. So thank you so much for joining me in this parent information session. And again, I look forward to meeting your student, supporting your family, and working with your student this year. Bye-bye.